So I just bought this 1950 Chevrolet short bed out here in Little Water, New Mexico. It's a little north of Newcomb. And we drove 400 miles from Tucson here today to pick this up. We are out in literally the middle of nowhere. I mean, the definition of it. I'll just do a quick walk around of this because we got to load it up and get back. It's still got its Chevrolet stamped tailgate. It's got the rear bumper on it. It has the chains for the tailgate. This used to be a U.S. Air Force truck, I believe. And Hank's dad bought this from the Air Force when they were auctioning stuff off in the 50s. And this has been a ranch truck all of its life. But look at the bed sides and the fender. I mean, the fender's not rotted out. The bed sides aren't rotted out. The tailgate isn't rotted out. They always rot out right here. And it looks pretty decent other than some dings and dents from being used on the ranch. He said this is the seat, so I believe this is the seat that goes in it. They put a different seat in it for use on the ranch. It's like a bucket seat. It only takes up one side. We have two grills here in the back. We have the running boards over there. We got the hood hinges right here. We got the valance panel that goes in between the front bumper and the grill. It's like a flat piece. This is the piece that goes on the headliner. So there's two pieces to the headliner, and this is how they meet in the middle. Look at the doors. Look at that. Not rotted out. The bottoms of the fenders aren't rotted out. The hood's been, I think he said it got caught by wind, so it folded it some. Let's take a look inside. So like I said, they put like a half seat in here, like a bucket seat, because they were using this for storage and stuff, hauling stuff around the ranch. But look how complete it is in here. So it's a 3 on the tree. Some of them came with a 4-speed. This one came with a 3-speed. Still got its horn button. Still got most of the steering wheel left. It's got its gauges. It's got its temp gauge, fuel gauge, battery gauge, oil pressure. It has its speedometer, which says, I believe, 84,000 miles, which, you know, back in the day with how much people were driving these trucks, that's probably accurate. You got your choke, which is stuck, throttle, which has some play. Yeah. Oh yeah. Shifter's freed up. Let's see about the clutch. That's free. Oh. Brakes are going to need some work. Gas pedal. It's also stuck. And then here you have your starter. You would turn the key on and then hit the starter on the floor. Seems to be a little stuck. But it's been out here for the last 50, 60 years. It's got some rat's turd, rat nest. It has a little bit of rust, but the floors, I mean, for the most part, are really clean. This is not rotted out. It's in good shape. Look at the bottoms of the doors. Those are in good shape. The cab corners are a little bit rotted, but they all rot here. The cab corners of these trucks all rot here. So we're missing the headlight buckets that go there and the front bumper, but we do have the front balance panel, the front grille, and so we'll be able to patch this up. The Chevy emblem still on the front here. Has the radiator in it, but it's all intact. It's got its coil, plug wires, valve cover, oil bath air cleaner, single barrel carb, even the horn. Those are always the first to go. People for some reason tear those off immediately, but it's still there. Have our external oil filter still there, our voltage regulator, our generator, which I'm still assuming is a 6 volt. I don't think anyone switched it to 12. Radiator hoses, heater hose has been looped around to feed back into itself. It does have a heater in it. I think it's an aftermarket one. These trucks did come with factory heaters, but I don't think this one had a factory one. I think someone added it. This is a really, really neat truck. It's got all of its glass in it. I think the front windshield is cracked a little bit, but that's no big deal. It's got its windshield wipers on it, cowl vent, side mirror. Used to have one here, but that's okay. We can get those. Somebody painted flames on it. Anyway, enough looking around. Let's get this thing loaded up and get out of here because we got a long way home. So we got the whole truck chained down, strapped down. The hood wasn't held on by anything, so we put it in the bed, put a few straps over it, secure everything, all our spare parts in the bed. We got to get this rig started back up and get back to Tucson. I'm winded. So let's get this thing cranking. Got the truck back to the property. We got it unloaded. It's been sitting here actually for a few weeks because we've been working on some other stuff. Looks like we have the running boards. This one looks to be the there we go. These are actually pretty straight. Sometimes you get these trucks and the running boards are just, looks like somebody beat them with a hammer mercilessly, but this is actually in pretty straight shape. And they're not rotted out. Oh yeah. And he said this was the original bench seat right here, but it might fit, but to my knowledge, these trucks didn't come with folding bench seats. They came with seats that they slid back and forth, but they did not fold up. Oh my goodness. This is heavy. Let's see here if I can get this out of here without. Yeah, this is not a factory seat. Here is one of the side aprons. This goes, let's see, this is the one for the, so that would go, oh, I see. See how the bed is like, yeah, it's down, but this is a cover. It goes there. This is for the headliner. These had a two-piece headliner. It would go here, and one piece would go here, and see the screws along the top, and then this would hold it up in the middle. Had one rib, and it would hold it up in the middle. So that can stay in there, I guess. Here's the grill. Ow. So anyway, so we have another glove box door, some U-bolts, and these are the chains that go on the bed. Here they hook on the bed and bolt to the, or they hook on the tailgate, bolt to the bed. So have some of those. Let's see. We have a jack. Don't know if this is the original jack, but we have it. And this looks like a battery hold down. Don't know if this is the correct one. Looks kind of short. I don't know if this is the right one, but I'm gonna need to start taking the plugs out, putting something in the cylinders. Put that there. This is a 216. I couldn't tell immediately what it was, but you can tell, the quickest way to tell is there's a cover here that goes over the push rods, and if the cover stops here, it's a 235, and if the cover goes up above and covers the spark plugs, which is kind of hard to tell, but this cover actually has an opening for the spark plugs, and that means it's a 216. I was kind of hoping it was a 235, because the 235s are a little better than the 216s, because the 216s have Babbitt bearings. I'm trying to see how I can get on this crank. It's funny, even in 1950, they still had a spot on the front of the crank where you could hand crank it if you wanted to. She's locked up. Oh. Let's pull the valve covers, see what's going on, then we'll pull these plugs, fill it with some stuff, keep it moving. Our problem just got bigger. This is loose, so I can tell that somebody had this apart before, set it on, and just finger tighted the nuts. So I'm curious to know if this was off for a while and sat open, because look at that nut, it's not on there all the way. This engine is guilty until proven innocent. It doesn't look too bad, to be honest. I was thinking that I might see a lot of rust and stuff, but I mean, it's just kind of dusty. It doesn't look bad. Cool thing about old wires is they got what they call muscle memory. You don't got to remember the firing order, because generally it's going to be in the same spot you just took it off. Well, it was running. It's black, like it was burning. Now that one does not look right. That one came out of cylinder 3. Let's remember that. See that? See how that doesn't look right? It's because it ain't. Let's go ahead and start dumping this thing full. It doesn't look like it's showing any fresh oil on the dipstick or any oil. Yeah. Not an inch.
There you go. Pour it on them rockers.
So I let the motor sit for about a day with Marvel Mystery Oil in it, and then I took the plugs out this morning and filled the cylinders full of acetone, and then I waited most of the day and I tried to pry it over, and not only did it not break loose, but I broke one of the knobs on the crank there. And so yeah, I didn't mean to do that. That was an accident, but now I have a big pair of channel locks on it. I'm trying to get it, and I'm going to try this one last thing here with these channel locks, trying to break it apart, and if it won't come apart tonight, I'm just going to bust the head off. So it's the next day and I want to try 2 more things before I bust the head off, because I'm getting the eking feeling that's where I'm headed. I want to try and get on the crank one more time with the channel locks, and then I'm going to jack it up, drain the oil out, just see what's in there, just see, you know, is there a lot of water or what. Then I want to get a pry bar on the crank. I'm sorry, not a pry bar on the crank, a pry bar on the flywheel. We'll try that, and if it still won't budge, then we're going to have to change our tune here. Okay, so, oops, wrong way. Nope. Probably what's going to come out is a lot of marble and acetone. You know, maybe that jug I pulled out of the cab earlier, that might have been the oil that was in this truck. I don't know. Water, I think. No, a lot of acetone. A lot of acetone. That looks like seat material. That doesn't look like it's from the desert. That looks like it was from the upholstery. Actually, I know exactly. That's exactly what it is. Let me push the clutch in, hold it with a brick, and then let me get on this with a pry bar. See it like moving a little bit. Oh! Thought something happened. See it? Did you see it? I saw it. I know I saw it. Can't lie to me now. You gave yourself up. See it? It's moving. She's moving rough though. Rough as a cob. I got it. I think I got it. Boy, she's turning really rough. We might have to sit here and kind of work it, you know, but it ain't locked up now. You know, it's probably working its way up or down that rusty cylinder or whatever. It's just catching it as it's going up, and it's just rough. Wipe some of this out, and then I'm gonna tap on the valves, because I don't want to crank this and bend a push rod or something, so I kind of want to make sure that they'll move. That one's moving. That one's moving. 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 I think she's moving. Moving. Okay. I think they're moving. I'm gonna put a little bit of oil in it. I found a drain hole right here. So there's a feed line right here that feeds these rockers, and then I guess there's a drain that goes back down into the crankcase. I'm gonna utilize that. Just put some oil down in there. This oil is used, it's out of my Cummins, but just until we know the condition of this motor, you know, this will still do a fine job of lubricating everything. And once we see it run or whatever, then we'll put some clean oil in it. Curious to know just what it looks like in here. Still has a rubber gasket on it. These old filters had handles on them. I kind of like that. Look at that. There's some cut on top of it, but yeah. See the oil level? It's a pretty stout filter. That's big. Yeah, there's still some oil in there, but the fact that there's oil in it at the bottom and it hasn't leaked out even though this is broken means that that line's plugged anyway right there. Well, amazingly, the battery box is still in it. Has a little bit of rot in the battery box, but it's still there. So, since my GMC is the same battery, we'll just plop this one in here. No modifications required. Fits like a glove. I already unhooked everything else, like there's a big wire that comes off the starter that feeds all the accessories, which are all still 6-volt. So I took that wire off, so we should be good. We shouldn't get any sparks or anything like that. Yeah. Is that starter locked up? I mean, is the button pressing it? It's not even trying.
Oh, it sounds like it's coming out and hitting. I don't know, it's kind of weird.
I've been looking for a reason to use this old mechanic's light that I found at an antique store. This is the real deal. Look, it even puts out light like it's 1950. See that? Look at that thing smoking. That's what I'm talking about. Look at that thing doing what it's supposed to be.
That's grease from the 50s burning off of it. The old dude that had it turned it off and retired. That was the end of it.
Yeah. Look, look, look. I even get me an old wood-handled screwdriver.
Too late, man.
Look at that. It's full of dirt.
Yeah. The whole starter's full of dirt, probably.
Look at that. How?
You got that battery unhooked?
Yeah, it's unhooked. Yeah, it's unhooked. What the heck? Look at that. Whole thing's full of dirt. That contact
Bust.
must. Man alive, what the heck is going on in here? I heard something. I put a vice grip on the... Oh, I heard something.
Brush it might be bad. Leave that thing hooked up and go get this screwdriver and push them brushes. Push them. Well, I don't even think it's dirty. I think it's just not making good connection in the brush.
Flicking this brush. It's
goes. Let it sit and run for a minute. Hear it?
Ready? What was that?
Blew something out of that cylinder.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
We hit that hard spot. We gotta
Need to back it up so we can get a good run at it.
Yeah. So what's going on is we're hitting this hard spot. That's why it quit. And number 3 cylinder spurted all that stuff out. So we're backing it up by hand, and then we're gonna make a run at it again with the starter to try and just get past that hard spot. You ready?
Go.
I think it passed it. Did we break Okay, so I got the battery hooked up. Let's try this starter and see if something's changed from yesterday. And if it does engage, I got a compression gauge hooked up to cylinder number 1. There we go. Let it turn, let it turn. Get over that dead spot. Yes. Yeah, we got about 70 PSI. I mean, it's not great, but it'll run on that. That's terrible. I should probably write this down so I remember which cylinders have what compression. 0, 0. Nothing. Not even 20. 50. Oh my gosh. 0. Oh my Lord. This isn't looking good at all. And we're still trying to save this motor. The compression was not good and at all. I think 1 and 5 were the only ones that had compression that would even possibly work. So what I did last night, just Hail Mary it. I'm still trying to save this motor without having to take the head off or take it apart. I poured diesel and transmission fluid down the cylinders, and I also poured a bunch of diesel down the intake here just to maybe get on the valves some, to try and maybe there's crud on the valves not giving it compression, and maybe the diesel and tranny fluid will help loosen up those rings. Yeah, it's squirting out some fluid. You gotta get it out. You gotta get it out of your system. $60. Ooh, 90. No way. Oh my gosh, no freaking way. 30. I think it's better than what it was. Nice. Yes, yes, yes. 80. This one, 4 had 10. So here's our tallies from the first and second tries of compression testing. 70, 20, 20, 10, 50, 15. Second go around. from 70 to 60, 20 to 90, 20 to 30, 10 to 50, 50 to 60, and 15 to 120. And 100% will be firing the strongest on 6. So this engine, guaranteed fact at this point, will run. That compression is not obviously rebuilt motor status good, but it is enough to run on. Guarantee it. Okay, so now that we have the compression situation sort of weeded out, we need spark and fuel. And I have not touched or looked at this ignition system at all. With the condition that everything else has given us, with the fight that it's given us, I think we're probably going to put a new set of points in, and I'm going to convert this to 12 volts. So I am going to put a 12 volt coil on it. Let's just take this off. There we go. Lightly take that off. So I have this coil right here, which is an old Delco Remy one. This is probably from the 50s too, but this is a 12 volt coil. We'll take this one off, put this one on, and let's see what's going on with these points here. Doesn't look too bad in here, but I might just do it out of good measure, you know. When you hear that crack, when you take these screws loose, that's how you know dang well they haven't been off in many years. Alright, I'm sure we're going to need to adjust those points gap, but there it is. And on goes another 60-year-old Delco Remy coil. I'm sure this one's not internally resisted. I'm gonna have to get a ballast resistor for it, but it'll work long enough to start it. Look at that, looks just like the rest of the truck even. But we're not getting power because I was just adjusting the points and they're open. And I also have a spark plug hooked up right here. We're gonna test for spark, but I wanna see, let me just crank it over just a blip and see if the points close. We really gotta fix that Bendix. Okay. Just not getting a good... I'm getting it to the other side of the coil. Maybe this is dirty because I'm getting it, but not here. All right, let's test for spark. I got it hooked up. I was hearing something. I heard a bunch of pops. All right, well, now that we've verified that we do have spark, all that's looking good, we got to finish with our fuel. And these single barrel carbs are pretty tough, pretty durable. The choke, this was all froze, so the choke is working. And this, I am not 100% sure what it is doing, but down here you have your throttle, and it's, I think it's locked up. It's not doing much of anything. It's really loose, and I don't know. I need to get it unstuck or figure out what's going on there. So I might take this carburetor off, try and get that unstuck and take the top off, see what's down inside, because this is what I found in the air cleaner. Dirt. Look at that. I mean, one would hope that all the dirt got in here and not in the carburetor, but yeah, that's really bad. So I think it's a good measure to take the top off of that thing and see what's going on. And you can see the throttle plate in there is free, but we're still not getting our travel. So this is idle position. This hooks to your gas pedal and you push it up, and it's supposed to have more travel than that. You can see this rod right here hooks onto this stick. That's your accelerator pedal. I'm sorry, your accelerator pump. And that is frozen. It's not giving us our travel, so it's stuck inside there. Oh, well, I tore the gasket. Great. It's actually pretty clean in there, other than some diesel fuel that I'm pretty sure was my doing. And working pretty good. This is our accelerator pump. See, now, oh, thought I heard it trying to come around. Tighten that. Goes directly in the center of this. It's like a metering rod. Needle drops down. Came with a new float, which we'll just go ahead and use. Our old rod. Set that. See this? Yeah, there's no else way for this to go. So this goes like that. And just so you guys can know, look at this, his little box says "Thank you, Jesus." That's cool, I like that. And pretty comprehensive kit. Everything worked perfectly. Well, it's not on yet, but everything fit right. Carb Junkies, 770-457-8570. Good kit, I like it. I like it that it came with brass floats, it's cool. Shouldn't need Teflon tape, that should be a flared seal. Get the vacuum advance plugged into the back. And I'll tighten all this up and I'll be back in a minute. Alright, carburetor's on. It's all bolted in, and I'm just trying to go over in my head the last checks and balances, but I think we're getting there finally, guys, honestly. Put these spark plugs in, tighten them down, put the wires back on them, and then we will hook some fuel up. You can see I got some line wrenches down there on the fuel pump. Crack that off, and then I got a gas tank right here, some fuel, and my electric pump. Get that cranking. The line is twisting the fuel line, and if it doesn't break loose, then I'm gonna break the fuel line, which I do not want to do. Am I out of gas? Oh, you all right, all right.
Just trying to heat something up.
Yeah. There we go. It was twisting the line. So I was trying to avoid. So I mean, heck, I got it. I want to reuse it.
You know what you're doing.
Well, sometimes I like to think I do.
The curl?
Yeah, well, it's sparking, so it's... Come on. Coil's hooked up. Fuel...
It ain't gear, is it?
Well, clutch is in.
You know, I'll be honest with you, it might be wise just jack those two wheels up off the ground,
Okay.
just in case you don't want this thing getting away from you. If you could actually get it started, you could actually kind of mess with that shifter a little bit and make sure it's in.
Okay. That Bendix is done. Can't.
Close.
It is.
If we're giving it any gas, we're gonna flood it. Hold it to the floor.
Come on, come on. Dude, it was trying, man.
It's so low on compression that I'm having to feed it brake clean. Hold it down.
What?
Hold the accelerator down.
Okay. Dude, it did it for a second.
Yeah,
You want to let that starter cool off?
yeah. You're holding the accelerator down, aren't you?
I was.
All right. Is that a rod knocking? Sure sounds fun. But I don't know, once it started it, I didn't hear nothing knocking. It's kind of odd.
You want it?
Hold it down. Oof, almost. You need to put a can of rod bearing in it. It ran.
Hey, it ran.
It did run.
Yes.
I'll give it that. And it didn't sound bad except for that noise.
It didn't sound bad except for that rod knocking.
That noise is elusive.
Was there any oil getting to the top of this thing?
Didn't see none.
I didn't see a drop.
Yeah, I think somebody ran her till the nod rocked. And noise is crummy.
I need to run it a little.
Well, yeah, listen, it ain't gonna hurt nothing now. Try it again.
Maybe that noise will go away.
Maybe that noise will subside.
I don't know if that's a rod knocking or not. Runs like a dang sewing machine though.
Boy, she's smoking.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I thought it sounded pretty good.
Yeah. Something's a little off.
That's just some valve clatter. Well, there's some water in there. Something's turning into steam. That is a big victory. This thing had no hope. This thing was on the verge. This thing was on the chopping block to be taken apart a couple of times. I didn't think it was going to go. I was really worried about this one.
Ain't out of the wood yet.
I'm going to crank it.
You can feel that knocking there.
I can feel it. I definitely think I hear a rod knocking when I put my hand on the oil pan or the block. I can hear a thump, or I can feel a thump, thump, thump. You can hear it right now, probably in the video. We're not getting oil up to the top end still, and it's leaking out of every single hole. It's leaking somewhere in the front by the harmonic balancer. It's leaking out of the lifter cover, the push rod cover on the side of the block. It's leaking somewhere in the back around the flywheel, maybe the oil pan, I don't know. And plus with that rod knock and no oil pressure, I don't know guys, I think that we're gonna have to call it quits on this engine, not the truck, this engine. We're not gonna be able to use this engine. The next order of business is to put tires on these rims. Unbelievably, these are actually holding air. I mean, I can't believe it. But these 650/16s are the factory tire size. Although these tires do look pretty cool on this truck, they definitely fit the look. They just are not safe. They're dry rotted, they're cracking. So what are we gonna do about it? I'm keeping the same rims because they're factory, period, they're cool. We're just gonna be putting tires and hubcaps on them. And although this is not factory, this is what I believe to be the best for this truck. We are gonna be putting some beautiful Firestone Deluxe Champions on there. I think I hear Dad. He's pulling up with the cherry picker. We'll do it right here. See all that crap that came out? Ridiculous. I can't believe it came off the bead that easy. I think a few times on the channel when I've been doing these tires, man, I've had to get real crazy with them. Unbelievable. I can't believe they came off. One time I had a tire that was so bad, I had to get the tractor out and shove the bucket of the tractor between the bead and the tire and put the whole weight of the tractor bucket down on the tire to get it to unbead. It was insane. Tube doesn't look that bad. Actually, look at this. Look, made in USA. Does that say truck bus? Silvertown? That's gotta be 50-year-old tube. Wow. That is cool. Yeah. BF Goodrich. BF Goodrich, Silvertown, Silvertone. Made in USA truck bus. And I didn't film it, but I did clean this rim up with a wire wheel over there. It's just, it was dirty and flaky, and it's just good to clean it up. Do not want to hit that tire. Beautiful. Another one, man, another cool one. Dude, I'm so stoked about these tires right now. Heavy duty first line, manufactured by Robbins Tire and Rubber Co. Tuscumbia, Alabama. That's so cool. When everything used to be made in this country, man. Wow. These are old, very old. So $260 is a very good price to pay for these, considering that a new set is $1,400. Now these aren't brand new, obviously, but they got a lot of life left in them, and they're perfect for what I can use them for. So give kudos to Dad for scouting these out, because I'm very glad he did. All right, you guys ready for the cherry on top? Come on now. You cannot tell me that this is not the absolute best possible wheel combination for this truck. It gets absolutely 100% no better than this. This is the best it could possibly be. So we're gonna take this master cylinder off, and I have a rebuild kit for it instead of putting a new one on, because you know how it works around here. Look at that. It says use GMC brake fluid right on the cap. That's cool. It's completely empty. Almost perfectly empty.
I think I can actually attach it.
Huh. Emily's home early.
What's this one doing here?
I don't know.
You got a loose cannon from their job, huh?
Yeah. Now, go back to work.
What are you doing here?
She thought she was gonna catch me with another woman in the house. Coming home early.
I'm here. Pay attention to me.
Okay. It's still daylight.
I know.
Doing this run down to the house when he's done do this.
That almost didn't happen.
Still seems.
Ooh. See in there, the cylinder bore looks nice and shiny. Those black spots at the bottom, we got a few defects, but nothing probably that's going to stop it from sealing. Looks really good in there. I cleaned out the reservoir. Reservoir's nice and clean. Last but not least, our plug. Alright, that should seal. Original Moraine Products Division, Dayton, Ohio, Delco master cylinder. Rebuilt, ready to be bled and go back in the truck. After I got the master cylinder all together, put it on, and then did the brakes on all 4 tires. This one has the Huck brakes, which are notoriously not very easy to put on. But all new shoes, all new wheel cylinders, all new brake hoses, and went ahead and bled the whole system and testing for leaks. See if it's leaking anywhere, but I don't think it is. It's been sitting for a day or so, and the fluid hasn't gone down at all. Let's see here. You can still see it shiny. It's up to the top, and let's see here. Hold on. Look at this pedal right here. All right, very top. That's it. That is some good pedal. Brakes are adjusted out nice and tight. So whenever we do get a motor in this thing, we'll already have brakes. It'll all be done. We'll be able to drive it. And the executive decision was made to swap it with a 235. Well, we think we found a 235 here locally in Tucson. So let's go over to his property, check it out, see if he has one, and if we think we can use it, we'll buy it, freshen it up, put it in here, and she'll have a nice, fresh, good, reliable engine. So we went down to this gentleman's yard and looked around for a little bit, and at first we found some like GMC and Ford inline 6s that weren't obviously 235s, and we did find the engine that he thought was a 235 that he said he had. Well, this is not a 235, this is a later model Chevy inline 6, but we did find a 235 way here in the corner, like by the wall, and he wanted 225 bucks for it. There's the engine, there's the 4-speed transmission, and this one is a 59 model, so it's a 59 later model 235, but we don't know the history of it, the condition of it, or anything like that, so that's what we have to figure out.
Ready?
All right, go ahead and let it down. Let it down. So I am the proud new owner of a 235 cubic inch non-Babbitt motor. That was the whole reason for this swap. This is a massive upgrade. The 235 had insert bearings, not Babbitt bearings. It had a full pressure oiling system. A lot of you that mess with these trucks probably already know the deal as to why I did this, but long story short, it's a big upgrade from the 216. And the reason that I picked a 235 instead of doing a V8 swap, because you might think, well, if the 216's trashed, I mean, it would be a way better upgrade to put a V8 in it or something like that. Well, that adds a whole other host of problems. Is you're going to have to find a different radiator, you're going to have to get a cross member support for the engine mounts for a V8, you're going to have to change the transmission, you're going to have to put mounts in for that, you're going to have to do a drive line, and then you got to get rid of the torque tube because it's still a torque. I mean, you got everything down the line is going to be jacked with. This right here is the least invasive, best upgrade that I can do. And I got this whole menagerie for $2.25. And the reason I got it for $2.25 is because it's locked up, just like this one was. So I'm just a big fan of locked up motors here. This fan pulley is a little different, and it comes out a little further forward than this one. Dad might be doing some measuring. See how this one's a lot more snubbier? So everything else bolts up, but the water pump is just too long and it'll hit the radiator. So we'll have to figure something out with that. Not too sure yet, but this is not the first time that this has been attempted, so we'll figure it out. They had numbers A through L for the 12 months of the year. This is I, meaning it was made in June 16th of 59, which is good. Just exactly what I wanted, exactly what I needed. Some of the early 235s were still Babbitt motors, low pressure, just like the 216s. So it's just all these technicalities that you want to check out before you whatever. So got the correct motor is the point.
I think I seen it move.
Did you?
Yeah.
There we go. We just didn't have enough force to move it by the fan. Yeah, there we go.
A little tight.
A little tight. Oh, these are loose. They're loose. It's not really a good sign, I guess. My wife got me a one of those bore scopes you can look down in stuff with for Christmas, so we'll give it a little try. Never have used one. So cylinder number 1 doesn't look too bad, has some rust around the sidewalls, possibly sat open. Cylinder number 2 looked pretty bad. It had some very significant rust on the sidewalls, and look at this goop over here on the side. I'm not even really sure how that happens, but this was a cylinder where the valve was probably open while it sat. Cylinder number 3 does not look too bad, actually. The sidewalls don't look bad. The piston has some carbon buildup, but it's to be expected. Cylinder number 4 is about the same. This one, the piston's all the way down. You can get a good look at the sidewalls. Pretty clean, little bit of surface rust, but nothing too significant. That would run. Looking at cylinder number 5, there's definitely some significant surface rust on these cylinder walls, some carbon buildup on the piston, but kind of like the others also. And last cylinder, number 6, can't really get a good look at because it's like almost at top dead center. So we'll just have to move on.
Drop things off at the machine shop and probably expect to pick it up within a couple of days. You know, head's done, crank turned, or dropping the block off and having a hot tank bored, all that within a couple, 3 days. I'm picking it up and going back together with it. It ain't that way now. I mean, you drop it off and 2-3 weeks later you pick it up.
Now we're in neutral.
What are you doing?
Well, I'm pretty sure.
You got this bolt.
What bolt? Oh, you know what? I took out the wrong ones. What am I even doing?
Boy, look how clean that motor is.
It's very clean up top.
Yeah, nice one.
There you go. Will it come out now? No, still hard. There was 2 bolts underneath the flywheel cover that come in from the other side that I didn't see, so we got those and do the top 2 and this should come off. There's the transmission.
Motor. Nobody wants it.
Nobody wants it. Here is our pilot bushing.
Oh, it ain't throw out here.
I'm sorry. No, our pilot bushing's in there. Throwout bearing.
I mean, what if you get this thing all done and you want to do a road trip in it?
That'd be fun.
You know what I mean? You want that old motor in there, you know? Or get that 2x4 over there.
This has been off before because some of these have these washers on them, these locking kind of washers, but some of them don't.
Well, that's weird.
Let that thing down.
Just put another one.
So after thinking about it and mulling it over in my head, you know, there's 2 ways to go about it. Just throw this in there and see if it works, and if it runs, then great, and deal with it once it's in there, or pressure wash it, take it apart, do a light rebuild on it, right? Rings, rod bearings, main bearings, gasket set, maybe do the heads, and actually freshen it up for real and make it a decent motor. And instead of just throwing it in there and hoping for the best, because we did get it to unlock, you know, turns really good now. I think what I'm going to do for the first time in this channel's history is rebuild the motor. We'll blow it all apart, we'll take it apart, and we'll rebuild it. We'll do like a poor man's rebuild. We'll get a master seal kit, we'll hone it, and we'll have a nice motor. It will extend the life of this truck tremendously. Now, I've said this before on here, but I like to use Easy Off oven cleaner, degreaser for engine blocks and stuff like that. Got the heavy stuff off with the pressure washer, and now I just go over it wherever the greasy spots are, hit it with some easy off, let it set for a bit, loosen that grease up, see like right here, and you know what, I might as well, see, that would have been a problem. We'd have got it in the truck and all this, been happy as a pig, and you'd have leaked all your water out. Doing freeze plugs in the motor can be done, but it's just a pain. So I'll probably pop a few of these freeze plugs out, pressure wash the block out while we're doing this before we take it all apart. And then once you take it apart, you don't want to get water everywhere. So before I clean this, I just wanted to show you what was in here. See that? If you would have just said, no big deal, just put it in there and run it, look what you'd have been shoving through that water jacket. And also check out the back. I busted the back freeze plug out. You would have filled this up with water, and that's what you would have been shoving through the motor. We're going to take the intake and exhaust off as a unit together. Pop this bad boy off, pop the valve cover off, and then start in here. But we'll take this off first. If I can, I always try to put everything back where it was instead of taking this and setting it down. I personally just like to put it here so you have it and you haven't lost it. When you go to look for it, it's right where it really should be. Impact won't fit here. I doused these with WD-40, so we'll give this a shot. See if we can get a 9/16. Okay. It's on 2 dowel pins on either side to guide it, which is kind of cool. Just like that. Oh, we're still caught on something. There's the intake and exhaust manifold. We should probably go middle out, just like how you put them on, middle out. And these are one directional, so you can't obviously flip them the other way. So I would mark them like F, R, front, rear, but there's only one way to put these on. That'll come off like that. Set these right here in the valve cover. Got our valves, our push rods. Okay. Alright, is there anything stopping us from doing this? Nothing's hooked from bottom to top, all around. Nothing. Should be good to... Taking a look at these pistons. Yeah, we had crud covering the water jacket. Yeah. Yeah. It was crummy, but it got to turning over. But see that? I mean, it would have blew it out, but you know, it's good we're doing this. It's pretty dirty. I mean, look at that. Wow. Yeah, she's dirty. I mean, she could use a good cleaning, valve job, head gasket. Doubt we're gonna be needing that, but just in case, you know, save everything, right? Look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Look what we would have been passing through that. I mean, even just this can plug up a few cores in a radiator. Look at this. Oh, oh, whoa. That cap looks beautiful on the inside. It's a little pea shooter. Oh. Hey. Okay. Oh. Well, maybe somebody's been in here before, which is also not a good sign. I don't know. Hopefully this thing isn't bored 60 over. Ta-da! Uh-oh. Okay, so we're gonna push these pistons out right now, and I want to be careful. This is important to get correct back the way it was put, where they were put. And I noticed on here, maybe you can't see it on the camera, but sometimes they're labeled, sometimes they're not. But the cap is labeled 1 and the rod is labeled 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down. And they are not labeled on the other side, so you can't reverse them. 1 and 1, every number's on the side of the distributor. So we can take these out, put them back together in the same spot in the same direction. And 4. number 2. Man, that was a tough one. Ooh. Oh, cool, it's gears. Nice. I don't know why, I was thinking I was gonna see a chain. I don't know. I've never rebuilt one of these, all right? Lay off. Well, oh, ha ha ha, I found it. Woo! Yeah, those valve seals are totally gone. They just crumbled in my hand. There it is. All right, so we got a few different tools going on this morning. We have a hone connected to the drill, and we also have a ridge reaming tool. You never stick in one spot. You go up and down at a constant speed. And just as a side note, when I'm explaining things and what I'm doing, I'm not trying to assume that the viewer or you are dumb. I just don't know the level of expertise people have when they're watching my videos. Some people know exactly what tool I'm using before I even mention it, and some people have no idea what I'm doing. So I just try to explain it briefly so that everybody gets the gist of what's going on. I just wanted to, this one was really bad, so before I even tried to ring it, I wanted to see what it looked like.
So I'm going to show you something. Open the book. First couple of pages is going to be your engine specs.
So what Dad's showing me here is how to measure the rod journal on the crank to see if it's standard factory size. because if this motor's been rebuilt a bunch of times and the crank has been cut and ground at a machine shop, the diameter changes and they cut it in. What Dad was doing with the book is showing me the factory measurements of the journals, and we were miking the factory journals on this crank to see if they match up or to see if this has been cut, regardless of what the bearings say or don't say on them. We would know for a fact. Because if they're cut so many times, you can't cut them anymore. Close it in. So we got 1 inch, we have 2 inch, we have 0.123, so we're at 2.3, and then this is your finest measurement above that even. 2.31, 2.32, 2.33, 2.34. We are at 2.31. If you can catch your finger on the ridges of these journals, that means that it needs to be cut. This needs to be smooth and completely without ridges. And I can catch, see how my finger is catching on some of these? Some of these are really bad. One of them was, yeah, this one, cylinder number 6. You can see it right there with your naked eye, but you can feel it with your finger. And some of these they're pretty worn out and they got some bad ridges in them. So I am going to have the crank cut because you can't put it together like that.
Now see if that camshaft will move.
Just not getting it square. There we go. Had to take the distributor out.
So bring it over here. Let's check something real quick.
And this is a old tool from a lost art. My dad's had this for many, many years. This is a ridge reaming tool. So this is your cutting blade, it's your cutting edge, and you can back it out. As you turn this comes up, right? Comes up the threads and backs up, and as it's coming up, it's cutting that ridge off. Go on to the next one. Alright, so what is the official consensus on this engine now that we have it all tore down and I've honed all the cylinders and most of them came out pretty good? I would classify them as usable. I would not classify these as perfect. The only way to get this perfect would be to send it off to the machine shop, have the cylinders bored, have the deck trued up. But look, again, what did I say in the beginning? This is a poor man's rebuild. I mean, we don't have the money for all that stuff. I mean, every step you take into the machine shop is just an open checkbook, all right? I mean, it's just things can get out of hand really fast. I mean, the money you can spend on an engine just goes to infinity, really. You gotta like put your foot down at some point. The condition of this engine, it has a lot of miles on it and it's wore out. It's rebuildable, but it's a lot more wore out than I was kind of hoping. I was hoping I could get away with using a lot of things and not having to go to a machine shop at all. I dropped the crank off to have the rod journals and the mains turned. That's 225 bucks. Every single rod bearing is down to the copper plating, which means that they are definitely wore out. The main bearings are definitely wore out. All of the lifters are wore. They have cones in them, dips in them, concave, parabola, whatever you want to call it. They should be completely true and flat. We either need new lifters or have those ones resurfaced. The camshaft completely wore. The hard facing is gone. You can see it's dark. You can see the top of the lobe is shiny, which is what it should be, but the rest of the lobe is pretty much wore off. You can feel it with your finger. It's rough. It's pretty much every single lobe. The camshaft is wore out. And as far as the head goes, that is another story. There's good and bad news with that. We'll start with the bad news first. It is a lot rustier than I'd hoped. I don't even know if you could cut these valves. You'd probably have to put new valve seats in them if you could even do that. There's so much rust, especially on a few of these. You can see this is pretty bad. This is really bad. I mean, look at that. You can't even see the valve seat. You know, it's just really rusted out. And all of this came out of the head. So this used to be the head. So this head is in really rough shape. That is the bad news. Also, if you take a look at the valves, a few of these valves, I mean, these valves are not in good shape. But like this one, I mean, this one's rusted to the point of pitting right here and thinning. Look how thin that is. Look at this part and look at this part. I mean, this valve is very bad. You can't reuse that valve. So then you're stuck buying all new valves, all new valve seats. You're going to the machine shop. You're having it decked and magnafluxed and cut and valves and seats and all that stuff. That is an open checkbook. I can't do that. The good news is Dad comes to the rescue every single time. This is a supposedly rebuilt 235 head that he got with a 53 Chevy truck he bought like 12 years ago. They threw this head in and said it was our dad's truck, and he had this head redone supposedly, and he never used it. And my dad got it with the truck. When he sold the truck, he kept the head, but he's never built a 235. He's just had it sitting in his garage for like 12 years. So he said, here, use it if you can use it. And I'm like, yeah, I can use that. So this is a supposedly rebuilt head, but at least it's a 235. Even if it's not rebuilt, it is a 235 head in much better shape. Let's take a look at the valve side. Hold on. So all the valves and everything look pretty spectacular. It almost looks like they put new seats in it right here. See that? I mean, this might have been redone. Very possible. We don't have receipts, but looking at the condition of it, it looks clean enough to eat off of. This is the answer. This is essentially the answer. Thank Dad for this, because this saved me a lot of time and money having this. Total freak accident thing to have this. I don't know what it's going to cost for lifters and a cam. Not sure what I'm going to do there quite yet. By the time this is over, we're probably going to have like $1,000 in this thing, or a little more. All right guys, so while we're waiting for parts to come back for the engine, the cam, and the crank, we're going to get the cherry picker out. We're going to take this motor out because eventually we're going to need it out anyway. So while we have some downtime, might as well get after it. Take this upper hose off. So these are actually carriage bolts that hold the bottom of the radiator core support down, and you know the carriage bolts have squares on the inside that stop them from turning because they don't have a hex head on top. They're round. Well, this square rounded off, and now it's just turning, and I really can't get it out because it just keeps turning, and I don't have a welder to tack weld it to itself so that I can stop it from turning. So I got a vice grip on it. We'll see if that does anything. No. Oh. The lower hose is on. Forgot about that. Well, there's that. That was stupid. Right on my electric drill. There we go. Just had to get a straight shot on it. There we go. There we go. There it is. I think I have everything unbolted, so nothing left to do but just try it. Huh. There we go. There it is. Well, it's on the ground. Oh, man. That was tougher than I thought. It was those two bolts on the side of the tranny mount that got me because one, they were in a hard to reach place. Two, they were nut and bolted, so you had to get to them from the top also, which sucks because it's down underneath. And three, they had cotter pins through them. Cotter pins. So fighting those for like an hour. So it's done now. It's done and over. Alrighty, so we got the 216 off the floor and over here in the corner, because once we build the 235 and put it in here, I think we're definitely going to put this on the engine stand, and I want to see what happened, right? I want to see if it was really a rod knocking, which we're pretty sure it is, but like, you know, which rod, where's it at, what's the problem, what's going on in there, what's the condition of that motor. So once we get all done here, I think we'll put this there and do that. I just got the crank back from Gary's machine shop. You can see they did the mains and the rod journals. He did them 10-10. They were able to be cut 10-10. He didn't have to go over. So I was very happy about that. It looks really good. I'm really happy with the crank. Now all we have to do is wait for the camshaft to come back from Oregon Cam Grinding in Vancouver, Washington. It's way up there being ground right now. And kind of in the middle of all this, I'm just trying to do what I can do before I can assemble things. I'm taking the piston rings out, and you can kind of get the history of stuff when you're taking it apart. And I found something interesting. So right here you can see these rings are froze. These rings are froze to the piston. You can only see the piston head. So this would have been a dead hole if we would have tried to just stick it in and run it. So this is what they mean when someone says, oh, I'm trying to start this motor but the rings are froze. The rings are froze. It won't run. It's got no compression. Because those rings expand against the side of the cylinder wall and it doesn't let compression through. But since those are froze in, as the piston's coming up, that compression's just going on every single side. It's going into the engine, into the crankcase. It's not keeping it in the cylinder head. This is the next piston, piston number 3, and you can see here, obviously, that the rings are stuck out and they're kind of like big springs, right? See that? When you put that piston in and boom, you let that out against the cylinder wall, it seals all that compression in. And then this one is not like the others. Whenever they redid this motor, they put a new piston in cylinder number, what would that have been, 4 back in the day. Not sure why they would have put another piston in there, but yeah, they put another piston in there. It's not like the rest. You can see on this one, it says GM. So this is a factory piston. And this one, you know, it has no markings anywhere. It's just a rogue aftermarket piston. 6 of 71, if you can see that right there. 6 of 71. So this was rebuilt in June of 1971. So I got the head on the chopping block here, and I know I said this head was rebuilt, and I took a few of the valves out, and it definitely looks like it was. You can see that bluing compound there in the valve seat. They're using that to see where the valve was seating, and you can see this looks cut. So they probably put new valve seats in it, cut the seats, cut the valves. I'm guessing they put new valve guides in it because there's like no play in this. They probably decked this head and checked it for cracks and everything. I mean, this is it's a rebuilt head. I mean, again, thank Dad in the comments that he had this, that he's letting me use it, because this is saving me from dealing with that one. The thing about it is the machine work doesn't have, you know, an expiration on the shelf life. What's done is done. That'll last forever. But the valve seals, although they're brand new, are like 30, 40 years old. We'll just put new valve seals on it. I think you guys will appreciate this. So that hose reel is from Harbor Freight. That's one I bought when I was building this carport. And I found this on Facebook, and this is like an old hose reel from like the 40s or the 50s. It's a Wayne hose reel, and I couldn't find any information about this, but I took it all apart, I cleaned it, I you know, thread taped everything, I lubricated the insides, and yeah, now it's like a cool old working hose reel. It locks and everything. And we have our cam back. I've been keeping it in here, trying to keep it away from weather and anything else. So that's the crank. So the camshaft is in here. Got it back from Oregon Cams. It's ground up, mild performance grind, I guess. And then here's my lifters. Right, they're all resurfaced, nice and flat and true and ready to go. And now that we have all that, we can get cooking, trying to reassemble this thing. So we got Dad over here, and what we're doing now is we're about to pound out the old cam bearings and install the new ones. This is Dad's tool. This is a cam bearing installer tool, and it's also what we're going to use to beat it out. This is your oil hole that oils the crank and it oils the cam. And this hole, if you look through there, you can see daylight. There's actually a hole in that cam bearing right here, and you have to align that hole perfectly, because if you do it like this, the oil can't get through the hole. You're not going to get oil to your cam, so it has to be pretty much perfectly aligned with that hole when you go to install them, or else you're going to tear your motor up. How long have you had this cam tool?
probably bought it when I was about 21. I've had it. What was that? 35 years, 40 years.
35 years. What brand is this?
I think it's Snap-on.
Really?
I think.
You bought this brand new from Snap-on?
You know, evidently I did.
That must have been a fortune.
Yeah, see.
Oh.
Snap-on.
Wow. Yeah, this is a Snap-on. That's awesome. This is a piece of history right here. We got to keep that forever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I bought it off the Snap-on truck.
It's coming. Yeah. It's coming. Boy, you were within millimeters.
All right, so
Okay.
unloosen me, and make sure you put that cam bearing up on top the way it was. So we, I mean, I know we know, but it always pays to know for sure.
So it goes like this, and then it goes. Looks to be lined up.
Boy, there sure ain't a lot of room. I don't know if it's long enough. Make sure you're lined up.
Yeah.
Good.
Keep going. Yeah, you're even.
So I know it's going to have to go farther, but you just want to look and see how close you are. I know we still got quite a ways to go, don't we?
Oh, dude, it's perfect.
Is it?
It's absolutely perfect. See how it's shining through? That's perfect. Absolutely. We can go to the next one. That's it.
Is it good?
Yeah.
You always stop and make sure your cone hasn't worked its way out because you'll be hammering it crooked.
See if that's tight. All right. Keep going. Keep going. More. 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 One more. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it good?
Looks good to me. You're out.
Look, it's factory. Nobody's ever changed them. I wonder if they all say that. Never paid no attention. Yeah. GM, nobody put cam bearings in it.
Yeah, it's going in pretty good. Yeah.
Factory GM cam bearings.
Okay, so I took the liberty of putting the main bearings in, and I put the rope seal in, the rear main seal. It looks like this. It's literally a rope. I mean, it seems like very antiquated technology, but I thought it would come with a rubber seal, but it came with a rope seal, so that's just what we got to put back in it. So I'm going to put some assembly lube. Make sure these are clean. I'm going to put some assembly lube on the main bearings, and then I guess we'll go ahead and get the crank and set it in there. I mean, it's time, but we're going to be careful not to rotate the crank once we set it in, because we got to plastic gauge it, the caps, and see if we're within spec on that. So
Set it down easy. Yeah, I'm just trying to
All right.
make sure.
So the plastic gauge starts out as this little green hair that you cut off and put in there. See that, how it smashed it? So this is 1,000th, 2,000ths, 3,000ths. So it's a little smaller than the 1,000th, so we're gonna go right here, and it's almost exactly in this white one, which is 0.0015. So we're totally within our realm of acceptable. That's actually really good. Put the rope seal in the main cap, put assembly lube on all of the caps, put them in, torque them down. I didn't think you guys need to see me torque things twice, kind of boring. If you've ever rebuilt engines, you know this, but you always turn everything as you go. So we put the crank in, we turn it. Hopefully it turns by hand. It should. I mean, there's no pistons in it or anything. It should turn by hand.
They're harder to turn.
Good Lord.
I know.
Well, it should turn by hand. Ooh.
Once you start to turn it, it might start turning a little better and easier.
All right. Well, it's not bound up. It's just turning a little tight. If it was bound up, it wouldn't turn at all.
Well, we already seen it on the plastic gauge. It's not bound up.
Yeah. So here is the oil pump, and I had to take the cap off to get the crank in and out. But what we're going to do while we're in here is take the old gasket out, wipe these surfaces off. What you do to help it out, what I'm going to do to help it out is take some petroleum jelly, Vaseline, smear it in there as much as you can, because what it does is essentially it creates a seal in there for a short time, and you can just shove it full, and it will help create a vacuum initially to pull the oil up into the oil pump and through the motor. Now, it's not really maybe it's not a necessary step. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you know, it'll pick it up, but since it's so dry, it might not create enough vacuum to pull it up, but this Vaseline will for sure make a seal. We can go ahead and tighten the main feed line that carries the oil throughout, because you can put all the pistons in with this all connected, but I just had to unhook it just for the crank, so it should be good. Let's see. So the oil gap ring goes on first, and then you have a ring that goes on the top and bottom of that gap ring. So you
want to see what the, where's my book at? I want to see what the ring is.
and you put the other one on. Then this ring has a dot on the top. That tells you that it faces the top of the engine. You have to watch out for that when you're doing these.
Rings in the right spots.
Yeah.
This is the best ring compressor I've ever owned in my life.
Where'd you get it?
Bought off Snap-on. Man, you want to talk about punching pistons, boy. Pow, 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 you know? Back before this, I had one of them old crank ones. Them old Craftsman crank ones.
I never seen one.
Oh, God. And then when I seen this, I couldn't believe, man, you could bop them pistons right in, man. It used to be so time consuming putting pistons in with them old ones that they had for years. Was it time consuming? And then when I bought this, I couldn't believe that they made something so intelligent.
You guys are getting a lot of history in one video. Not only are we rebuilding an old motor, but we got Dad's cam bearing installer tool that he bought from Snap-on in the 80s. You got this piston ring tool that Dad bought in the 80s. I mean, this is some historical stuff you're witnessing. What we'll do now, we're gonna eat some lunch, and in a minute we're gonna turn the motor over and plastic gauge the rod caps to make sure that they're all within spec. Probably won't show the whole process. If something goes awry, I'll show you, but it's a pretty boring process, so yeah, we'll keep it moving. We plastic gauged the rod caps underneath. Everything looked good. Turned it over. We thread tapped all the holes, brake cleaned them out, blew them out, cleaned the top surface as best we can. Got the head gasket set on there. We're ready to set the head on. And once we set the head on, bolt it down, torque it up, and then we probably will set the camshaft in. But let's put this on first.
Alright, so you swing your side around. Actually, we should have dropped a head bolt in there. I don't want to drag the head. Alright, that's good. I mean, we'll just lift it up and move it around. You think that press is strong enough to press that on there?
Boy, it ought to be. 60,000 pounds ought to go somewhere.
You think that thing will be strong enough to press that on there?
Dad's giving me crap because I just bought this press off of Facebook Marketplace, and I'm all proud of it because it's American made.
Boy, be careful. Make sure you don't go too far. Oh, wait, don't go any farther. Oh, you can go a little bit more. Oh, stop.
So we got the cam gear on, and the little locator plate is still free turning, and the gear is flush, so we're good there. I'm gonna put assembly lube all over the lobes and the main, I guess the main bearing parts of the cam. And then we'll slide it in real easy and time it up. There's a dot pointing to this point of the gear, and there's a dot pointing to this cave part of the gear, and they match up, so our timing is aligned. All is well. What we got to do now is set these lifters in. Had them soaking in oil overnight, just chilling in there. Just drop them in, and then I cleaned off the push rods. So along with the camshaft, I showed you guys earlier in the video how these were concave a little bit. I showed you the light coming through them, and I sent these lifters off with the cam to be redone so I can see where they've cut them. And they just made them perfectly true again, perfectly flat. That's all you want. And since everything's the same, since the cam is ground and the lifters are ground, it doesn't matter what sequence you put them in, you know. A lot of people, when you're putting a motor together, people always say you got to put everything together exactly where it came off, each lifter to the same hole it came out of. But that would be true if you didn't do any of this, because the surfaces mate together once they run together. But these are all brand new surfaces, so it doesn't matter. Alright, so we re-tapped the holes and everything, got everything cleaned up. Now we'll just set them back in there.
It's kind of weird that I guess all it does is just sets down in there.
Yeah.
It's crooked.
So these are torqued to 30. Sure doesn't seem like a lot.
You keep going. If you keep going, you'll find out.
Just how tight they'll go.
Yeah, just how tight they'll go. And then when you strip that thread out of there, you'll have a bad look on your face.
Oh, if I put it on right, we might get somewhere. Look at that. Looking better already.
Won't look every bit better after we paint it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna run up there to O'Reilly and get some gray paint.
So here's the thing about it, all right? This is Dad.
What?
This is me and Dad's qualm.
Paint.
Paint. So to be or not to be, to paint or not to paint, because here's.
You get one vote, I get one vote.
It's like that scene in Oh Brother Where Art Thou? I'm voting for yours truly. Well, I'm voting for yours truly too.
You gotta paint it.
See, Dad thinks I should paint it because I did all this work to the motor. You rebuilt it. You put your heart and soul into it, and you want it to look good, right? So the obvious step is to paint it because you know.
It doesn't matter if the truck's not restored. At least you painted the engine.
I get it, right? We've painted motors. We've done all that.
Yeah.
And I think painting them looks good, but to me, in this case, in this scenario, because we're leaving the truck the way it is on purpose, the way it looks, it'd be like, it'd be like a gold tooth and a crackhead or something. It'd be like, the engine's going to look perfect and the rest of the truck's going to look old, like you just dug it up out of a ditch, and then the engine's going to be a shiny piece of like a gold tooth. And my shtick is it's not going to look right painted because the rest of the truck is going to look the way it looks, not painted. So
I mean, it won't even really actually be any kind of a rebuilt motor if it ain't painted.
So all the work we did is negated if it's not painted.
If it's not painted, you didn't do nothing.
I don't know.
You're going to thank me later.
The comments I did see on previous videos is that I should paint it gray instead of Chevy orange.
Oh no, I wouldn't paint it Chevy orange.
Because obviously by 59 this would have been Chevy orange, but the factory 216 would have been, it was like a gray color.
There you go.
So paint this the gray color as if it was the factory 216, which I do agree with.
I do. Paint it gray.
So we're gonna put the timing gear cover on now. Pounded the old seal out, pounded the new rubber seal in. The reason, well, we were actually gonna put the oil pan on first, but I remembered luckily that there's a piece of cloth in there. You have to put the timing gear cover on first because these are sneaky. There's 2 bolts that come in from the back that are covered by the oil pan that hold the timing gear cover on. So yeah, that is a very dangerous thing to get wrong, because you'd have to take the oil pan all the way back off. Yeah, that's not a good idea. You know, they should have just had this plate threaded and put the bolts through this way.
Yeah.
Because that is a bad idea. Wow.
Yeah, and they could have easily threaded this.
Yeah.
You know, just threaded it to where you could catch it on the way in.
So we're about to put the oil pan on. I got all the bolts cleaned off over there on the wire wheel. This is a 4-piece seal. So there's 2 rubber seals on either end, and then there's 2 quart gaskets, and then what you do is you put a dab of silicone on each corner where they meet, help it seal better. Okay, so the motor is pretty much assembled, and we are going to paint it. We're going to paint it the 216 color. So you can see the color of the head was like Chevy orange, because this is a 59 or whatever. And we got some of this from O'Reilly's. It's pretty similar, gray, bluish color. And we're going to go ahead and paint it. I got everything hung up here that's going to be painted black, like the fan, the harmonic balancer, the fan pulley, the generator body, the starter body, the distributor body. Those all get painted black. I like it. So the first coat isn't going to cover up everything. It'll be a little light. You'll still see some previous color shining through it. When you go on the second and possible third coat, that's when you lay it on thick, because you already have a layer to really hook to. If you try and really blast it the first go around, you'll get a lot of runs in it. Plus it's kind of cold, so like what Dad was saying.
Put that coat on, it's like a sticky coat.
Yeah, it's like a sticky coat. Oh yeah, I like that. It's good.
You know, I hate the way they put these lids on this thing.
All right, so we got the carburetor situation figured out. I put the bottom on top of the one I rebuilt, and it bolted up to the plate on the intake, bolted up to the carburetor just fine. Everything is good there. That means I can use the original fuel line and the vacuum advance line from the 216. Comes across. It looks factory, it looks good, it looks perfect. Going into the fuel pump, going into the vacuum advance, and also I had to do, well, I guess, I don't know if you'd consider it modification, I had to do some switching around. This vacuum advance, the new one I ordered for the 216. The 235 vacuum advance is different, and the 235 mount is different too. So now we have a correct vacuum advance that goes up to the original line. So this is the factory correct water pump for the 235. The shaft is so long that when you put the fan up to it, it will hit the radiator. What you have to do is you either have to get a kit that turns the 235 water pump into a 216 water pump, like this, but you have to drill 2 holes in the block and you have to put a mounting plate in, and the 216 water pump doesn't flow as much water as the correct 235 water pump anyway. So I didn't want to drill 2 holes in this block and mount an original 216 water pump to it because I just didn't want to do that. So the way you have to do it is you have to take the correct 235 water pump and press it into the housing to shorten it up so that it doesn't hit the radiator. But the second problem you have is now your pulleys won't line up. If you put the correct water pump pulley on it, see how deep it is? See how all the pulleys line up? Now if you press this in, say 2 inches, the fan will miss, but now your pulley is 2 inches deeper into the motor and it's going to hit everything and it's not going to work. What I had to do was I did some research online, and they said that a Ford, like a 60s Ford water pump pulley, will match up and it's shallower. So my friend Ron, shout out to Ron, thank you Ron, appreciate it. He had a 60s Ford fan pulley, and we had to drill 4 holes to fit the bolt pattern on the Chevy.
Is it moving?
No.
It went. There it went.
Oh, that scared me. You know, I didn't know if it was gonna go.
Look at that.
There we go.
Look at that.
And to my understanding, it has to go almost, I mean, it goes down there far.
I'd be real careful because you ain't gonna go backwards. Well, you might.
We still got a ways to go. I mean, this thing is almost going to be touching that.
Look at that. Looks sweet.
So now the pulley pretty much aligns with the harmonic balancer. It's extremely close. See how that water pump is hitting right there? Look at that. And the holes. That's crazy. This is going to have to be ground off for it to fit. That's you rotate it, all of your holes, they match up. We'll be able to put it in now. Oh no. Uh-oh. Crap. All right, that's a tomorrow thing. It's getting late tonight. Ah, crap. Oh no. So, I think we are officially ready to take it off the engine stand. Got it. Okay, so it's a week later from my first clutch install attempt, and what happened was the clutch wasn't right. I only figured that out when I tried to put the pressure plate in. None of the bolt holes were lining up. I was like, what the heck? Well, then I started to actually compare the clutches, which I should have done beforehand. I don't know what was going on, but the clutch was too big and the pressure plate bolt holes wouldn't line up with the original flywheel. So I had to send it back, order another one off of Rock Auto. It's been like a week, it got delayed, yada yada. I verifiably confirmed that all the holes line up now, right? So those are correct. The flywheel is a weird size. That's what I didn't know. So they sell 10, a lot of them are 10 and a half, 10 and a half, or 11 inch. This is a 9 and an 1/8. So it's a 9 and an 1/8. It's a weird oddball size clutch. Did not know that at the time. So now it should fit up in there. Got the pilot bushing all in. That was the hard part, really, was the pilot bushing. So that work's already done. Dad's cleaning out the engine bay a little bit. There was dirt like level. You couldn't even see that brake line right there. And there was dirt all up in the frame, all up on this transmission. There's just filth and dirt everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be able to pull our little eyelet tool out and have a straight shot. All right, let's get all these things out from underneath it. Sorry.
Wait a minute. All right, now come on in. All right. I'd like for the front of the motor to go up, but I don't know.
Okay. It feels like it's kind of free floating, like it's not caught on anything. Do you want me to push it back?
Try it again. Jack it up just a hair. All right.
Oh.
All right. See if you can come in. All right. Hold on.
Coming down. All right. All right. I'm gonna do a little spritz. All right. Go ahead and. Try it. Wait. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Sounds like it. You might need to move that distributor a little bit. It sounded like it was kind of kicking back a little bit.
advance it or go back.
Probably retarded a little bit. It sounded like it was kind of banging against it.
All right, hold on. Let me get a 1/2 inch wrench.
Wait a minute here. This rotor. You need a new rotor.
Oh, what's wrong with the rotor?
It was all bent sideways.
It was bent.
Yeah. See that's missing. See, this was.
I tried to move it. I don't know why. I have no idea why it's doing that because the throttle was completely closed.
Ready?
Yeah. Now we can't run it long. We got no water hooked up. We got absolutely nothing in there, but there you go. Running good. Like a sewing machine. Sounds good, yeah. We had to idle it down quite a bit. Last bowl working. Sounds good. Sounds real good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. We did a good job.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah, we did a real good job. I am happy with that.
Well, now you just have to put a radiator and fan in it so you can run it a little longer.
Very interesting. This is kind of cool. I've never taken apart one of these. So I guess here's your baffle where stuff would come up. And there's a hole in it. In the yeah, there's some sludge in there. Because as the pistons are turning, this little shark tail looks like a shark fin coming out of the water. It's got a hole right here, and whenever it comes down, it scoops oil up, and it scoops it, and it pushes it through where it needs to go. So it's kind of interesting. Huh. And they shake a little from side to side. But I was expecting something a little more prevalent. See that? Those little itty bitty brass things? Those are shims. If the Babbitt wears thin, you can take the shims out and basically it acts like, you know, you can bring the cap closer to the crank and it gives you more life from the motor. And here's a shim. Yeah. There's your shim. Okay, so today we're going to be trying to put this truck back together. What we want to do right now is we want to put the radiator and core support in. I've thread tapped and cleaned up all the original bolts. I think I'm missing like 2, maybe I lost them or whatever. So we're going to set the core support in, bolt it in, finagle it around these wires, because in the meantime I've also been doing some wiring. The wiring on this truck was completely toast, so we got new pigtails for the headlights. We got everything going up to a junction block going up. I even have some wires ran for the generator all the way up to the regulator. Have the wires coming up to feed everything. try and slip this grill on. Let's see, where would these are probably gonna go. On top of the grill getting put on, I went ahead and put this front valance panel on, and I put the the bumper on. I got 3 of the lag carriage bolts in there because I found the bolts in here. I only found 3 of them though. So that's what's holding it on for now. And I am working on putting the headlight buckets in. They're not bolted in, they're just sat in, making sure that everything fits up. Also going to get some hardware to put the running boards on. And another update on the 216 motor. We have found a new home for it. There is a gentleman who watches my channel by the name of Bob, and he works here in Tucson at the Trolley Museum, and they have some of their old buses that still have the 216s in them and whatnot. And he emailed me and he said we could use that motor for parts, you know, what do you want to do with it? And I said, well, I'll just give it to you. So he's on his way right now to pick up this motor, and maybe they can use it for parts for their other trucks in their museum. Pretty much on this side of the pallet, if we want to let it down and then just like tip it.
Yeah, that's my idea.
And then I'll let it down.
Blocking under it. Yeah.
216 is getting a new life at the Trolley and Bus Museum here in Tucson, Arizona. They, on top of having lots of old electric trolleys, they have buses. Those old 30s and 40s buses have those 216s in them, and they are constantly needing parts. So happy to help out. I'm surprised these aren't breaking. Bracket for our lights will go like so. Look at that. Oh yeah. So next thing we'll do is we'll put another voltage regulator on it, because this is still the 6-volt one. Since we're going to 12 volt and we got a 12 volt generator, we'll put a 12 volt regulator on it, keep everything factory looking. Original Delco Remy regulator, as it should be. Take the wires off of this 6-volt one. I never planned on using this 6-volt one. I just put the wires there while I was doing this harness to know where they went. Ready to rock and roll. Delco Remy, made in USA. That's what I like to see. While I was doing this harness to know where they went. Sweet. All bolted in, hooked up, ready to rock and roll. Delco Remy, made in USA. That's what I like to see. So I got a few gallons of distilled. Before I go eat some lunch here, I'm going to pour this full of water and inspect for any drips and give it some time to sit and chill and marinate. Hopefully we don't have any drips. The radiator, when we had the 216 in it and running, the radiator didn't drip. But you know how things are when you put things back together, it's always a different story. Since this is a 6-volt gauge and sending unit, I got a reducer or a resistor for the gauge to go from 12 volt to 6 to kick the voltage down. So we'll be able to use the original gauge and everything. Look at that. I'm just think I'm not getting a good connection. So we got 44 ohms at the top. Let's go all the way down. And 6 at the bottom. Okay, so it's working. At the top you have more resistance, at the bottom you have less resistance. So yeah, that sending unit is working. So let's look down inside the tank and see what we're looking like in there. So I got my little scope camera out to look down in here to see what we're working with, and I was very pleasantly surprised. You can see the filler neck hole. I have a light shining down in it to get a better view, but yeah, this tank looks spotless. There has been they must have drained the tank because it looks absolutely spotless in here. There's not even like a level mark where you see gas would have been up to some level. There's the gas outlet where it goes up to the motor. Looks really, really good, almost brand new. So I'm not even going to take this tank out. We're just going to go ahead and use it. Brims, visors, love them. I think they're great. So just to get it out of the floor, we're going to put it on the truck, hopefully. It's got a clamp in the middle that bolts together, and then it's got 3 screws that screw into the drip railing. Oh, gas gauge is reading. Trying. All right, gas gauge is trying to read. It's working. Got left signal. Left signal. Cool. Yes, sir. Let's see if we got it over here. All right. Batting 1,000 so far. Let's see if we got tail lights and headlights. Actually, let's see if we have hazards. Let's pull this out and see. Rear hazards. Front hazards. Parking lights. Oh. That's not supposed to happen. Our headlights are on. We wired something up wrong. Okay, so 1 pull, double pull, headlights, parking lights. Now, I know what you're going to say. You wired them up wrong. Your parking lights are supposed to go out. But I like the way the parking lights look. I did it on purpose. I can change it later. Set it on. Oh yeah. And then the way I like to set these, where is it when it's all the way up? There you go. Sort of faces the same way. Looks good. Now that we got our door panels looking funky fresh, we got a glove box situation. So I got my glove box in the mail. I think this is how it goes, right? Yeah. Cool thing is they sent the clips but no screws, but some smart cookie put every single screw back in the hole. Isn't that awesome? How often does that happen? Those screws should be long gone. So I don't have to go buy screws. I can just use these, which I'm very happy about. But this glove box, this is screwed up. It's supposed to lock. 1, it's caved in, all right? And 2, there's a string holding it, whatever this is, baling wire. So I think my dad gave me this. This one's in much better shape. Chrome, kind of bubbles out. That's how they're supposed to be. It's got the little clip right here to clip into this. And I've had this soaking in WD-40 to kind of, you know, bring it back a little bit. So I'm gonna have to take that heater out just to get this glove box in. That's not gonna fit. Easy now. Glove box is in. These are harder to get in than you might think. They never want to fit around these corners here, and sometimes you got to really stretch them, and yeah, it's just tough. But doors work, button works, all that. I lubricated the switch with PB Blaster, and you can see the test light coming on and off. So it's getting power and the switch is working now. It wasn't before. But when I bolted the housing back in, the light still wasn't coming on. So I put the test light in the switch, and you can see the test light going on and off because I have the test light hooked to a good ground. So the housing must not be grounded right. And I have the light on. See? So if I put the bolts in, should be good to go. Check it out. You know, it's little details like that, in my opinion, that make a truck. You know, anybody can make a car go down the road, but where you lose people is the little details that make it work. The dome light, because people say, oh, no one's ever going to notice that. You know, no one's ever going to turn that on and off. I will. I know it works. That's what I like. I also put the dash lights up in there. If you check it out, you can see off to the side. See it on that one too? So all the dash lights are working, and I even plugged this guy in right here. High beam indicator. Headliner is officially in. These really are tougher to get in than what you think. That cardboard looks like it'll fit, but it doesn't. You got to work it, and it's so delicate. But I got it up inside the window trim. Have the window trim tightened down. That middle bow in there. I got the back bar in. I had to go get that today from a friend of mine I know who sells parts for these trucks in town. Looks good. I mean, it looks really good. It looks better than that rusty roof up in there. So we're coming together. We got brown headliner, we got brown door panel. We're gonna have a brown seat here soon, tobacco brown. I also put the radio delete plate back in it, covered up that hole. Now what we gotta do is the heater. So I took that one out. Check this out. I found this at a swap meet for 60 bucks. Look at that, Chevrolet right on it. And the only issue is it has a 6-volt motor, but I think I have a voltage reducer for this. Got the voltage reducer right here. I don't know if this is supposed to work for like a motor like this. Give it a shot though. Sometimes these motors need a little bit of help. Heard it. There it goes. So a big plate inside that I saw that's never been off, and it is where a fresh air heater would go, which is what this is. There it is, that Air Force blue again. Yeah, this hasn't been off since the factory. I'm the first guy to put a clutch head in this screw since General Motors in 1948. And then that heater will bolt right here, and there's also 2 holes in the firewall right here. And the fresh air part of the heaters, there was 2 kinds of heaters. There was a recirculating heater they had and a deluxe heater or a fresh air heater. The recirculating heater went up in here like that other one did, and all it did was recirculate air inside the cab. But the fresh air heater utilized this door here, and that's why there's fins on the outside of this cab. Most people don't know what those fins are for. They think it was for decoration, but actually it was functional. If it did have a fresh air heater, it would utilize ambient air, outside air, and those fins were what fed the fresh air part of the... There it is. Camera died yesterday as I was installing this, but I did get it put in. I got all the clutch heads put in it. There's 2 bolts. You can see that arm right there, that bracket. There's 2 studs that go through the firewall. I got those nut and bolted in. So it's sitting there, and that wire hanging down, it's ready to hook up to power. You can put hoses to it right there through the firewall. The holes, original holes are there. So it's all in, ready to go. I love it. The look of these original heaters just is perfect. I like it. I got my door panel handles in the mail, so we'll put those on. They're gonna go like right here. Sounds a little off. There we go. That one I got right on the money. Much better. I like that. Coming together really nice. Hey. Stop all that. See, these are the bolts that hold the hoods on these trucks, and they're shouldered right here. You can't even get these specialized bolts at Ace Hardware or a regular hardware store. You gotta order them. So that's one of the reasons why I've been waiting to put the hood on. So I'm gonna squirt. Let's see. Let's go over. There's C3. There's 1. I'm gonna spray these with WD-40. 2, 3. Then we'll go ahead and tap them. Alright, so the first one. Alright, threads in like butter. Like that. There we go. I'm glad this thing ain't painted, because there's no way. Oh. This hood's bent over here. See how you can see a bunch of daylight coming through on that side? But over here you can't. That little end of the hood is bent. So it's folded in. Something happened to it real bad. It must have got knocked real hard. It broke this and, you know, bent this in. So see if we can bend that out. There we go. It wouldn't shut before. It won't even go all the way down because this one's it's pushed back. The point got hit back, so. Better. We could still probably pull it out a little more right here. It was really hit in. We need to yank it out or bend it or something, and we'll have it. Yeah, but it actually, at least it shuts all the way now down to the grill. It would latch. So this whole area right here is where it's the worst. It should be solid and it friggin' tore it right here. Might have to weld that up and straighten it a little bit. I don't want to hear it on my welding job. All it needs to do is hold. We're not welding the oil field pipelines over here. Well, that was it. Look at that. Oh yeah.
Isn't that nice?
That's awesome.
Look at the round with the rain. Close.
Yeah, that's right on the money.
I rebuilt the springs.
Do you want to set it down here or do you want to?
Wherever you want.
All right, let's just set it down right here. Actually, let's set it on the concrete. Yeah, this is the last piece of the puzzle. I love it. Man, take a look at that seat. Eddie did a great job, man. I got no complaints about that. It looks beautiful. He even color matched the seat frame to the seat. All these lines match up. The seat's a little shifted, but all these lines match up. He even had the bigger one down here in the middle. He's got the stitching up there. He even had stitching around the brackets that bolt it to the frame. I love it. Man, it looks good. This is gonna look so good in there. I'm so excited about this. So I vacuumed it out one last time. Now, before we put the seat in, I want to put this rubber mat in. The seat will be our last thing. So, let me figure out how this goes. Pretty sure it goes like This is gonna hide a lot of sin. They got indentions on the other side of this mat to show you, if you're doing factory, where the holes are for like your icy, like the slit here for your e-brake, your hole for your starter, your holes for your pedal. Alright, so I get how they're doing this. Now we can do away with my seat. These are just light enough to be able to do by yourself. Bottom half is a lot more crude. All it does is push in. Sometimes they can take quite a bit of force though. Oh. Alright, there it is. Wasn't as hard as I thought. Alright, I think the interior is complete, guys. Woo-wee! Looks good. Let's check it out. Oh yeah. Sits nice and firm, tall. The way you look out the windshield is perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like this truck a lot.